Hello, this is Real World Audio, and we are following up on the audio pairs, the twin qualities of audio pairs, and these are my concrete examples for you. So, which are the products which are balanced versus unbalanced? So, I will have the balanced guys up here, unbalanced guys down there, and I will elaborate on how they are and what they do. So when we look at the very inexpensive, the cheapest category, like the Bauer Wilkins DM301 loudspeaker, that's and I'm specifically talking about their 301 that they made 20 years ago, because that was the first and the last time I heard it. Since then, I have not heard any of the newer ones. But if you manage to find this model from 20 years ago and you buy it, probably it will be like maybe $20 or 20 pounds or euros in a second or third hand shop. Then this represents a balanced loudspeaker. So it means that it does not overdo neither resolution nor tonality. And when you use it, it has a decent tone, and for the price and what it has a decent low level resolution. I mean, not very resolving, just a moderate resolution to it. And as always, what people do not tell you is that loudspeakers, even very cheap loudspeakers, if you throw much better electronics and sources and especially cabling at them, they can step up tremendously. And so if you like your loudspeaker, then I would recommend just stay with it. And first thing that you can do to it is improve the internal cabling, improve the crossover parts, improve the connectors, and you can transform even a primitive cheap little baby like the DM301 into something that can be a really wonderful loudspeaker. But for the cheapest of all, cheapest money, this loudspeaker is pretty well balanced. So if we go out from the bottom bargain basement bargain category, now we go to the I might say the real loudspeaker category, the Wondersteins, the small ones. They are absolutely fabulous loudspeakers, and they balance, I would say, everything. I would call them the perfectly balanced loudspeakers. So they have good resolution, very good tonality. They have a very good mid-range and pretty decent frequency extension, and they have pretty good dynamics and pretty good imaging. So they really balanced everything throughout, and it is similar to the DM301, but at a much higher level of execution and quality. And if you want a loudspeaker that most amplifiers can drive, and it's balanced and it's really cheap, because you can get used ones for pretty cheap, a few $100s, then this can be the loudspeaker that will last you a lifetime. And similar can be told of the Ryan loudspeakers, the 610, 620, 630. They are the ones I have experience with. They are pretty well balanced, but I would say compared to the Wondersteins, they are skewed a little bit so that their resolution is more emphasized versus the tonality. I would not say that their tonality is bad, but they are more on the colder side. So if you like clinical sounding speakers, then you will prefer the Ryans. I'm not saying that they sound very clinical. They sound balanced, but they give you more of an objective feel to the music. And the Wonderstein, it draws you into the music. It gives you more subjective feel. I would say it has more emphasis on the vocals and the human qualities, and the Ryan has more emphasis on the technicalities. But all of these have pretty balanced qualities. But I would say that the Ryans sacrificed a little bit in the dynamics towards the imaging, so that part is not as balanced in it as with the Wondersteins, and you need pretty I would say a couple watts to drive them. The Wondersteins are much easier to drive than the Ryans. However, for example, I have my Darling amp, and just with less than 2 watts, I am happy with the Ryan 610, and the Ryan 610 is 96 dB efficient. 86 dB efficient, which is not much, but basically less than 2 watts is enough for me to enjoy even classical music. For example, Uno Clamis works, and they are modern, large-scale orchestra, and it can reproduce it with less than 2 watts with a total feel of realism and perfection. But I need to add that it does not give this to you at a real life level. It will be a little bit quieter than that, maybe peaking around 80 something dB. But I have to admit to you that I'm not missing out anything. Of course, if I switch to my Altex right after the Ryans, they are a night and day experience. It's like listening to a recording versus going to the orchestra and listening to them live. But I also have to tell you that even with the Ryans at that volume, it's perfectly enjoyable. It's really it can give you a full experience. Now let's go for unbalanced loudspeakers, because now we are just talking about speakers only. So most of the B&W lineup, at least the ones I heard, are extremely unbalanced. So there the audio properties are totally all overboard, and now that I'm hearing from reviews, they are flipping on the B&W character, and they're coming up with speakers that sound quite different to the general B&W sound. But I do need to add to you that the higher level B&Ws are a totally different animal than the small DM301. But I think even now, today, maybe I'm wrong, but they changed the entry model as drivers from paper cone to plastic cone, and I think so if that has happened, it means that the new DM301 is also going into that category. So you need to look for the vintage one to find example for balanced gear. And B&W's unbalancing is partly or mostly at the resolution, so they go for resolution, but tonality is just totally sacrificed to gain more resolution. That covers a lot of price ranges and scales, and I think people can identify it easily because many of you probably have B&W loudspeakers. And it doesn't mean that they are bad loudspeakers because they have unbalanced tonality and resolution. It's just something that you need to be aware of. So that's how you plan the rest of the system around it. If you go to the very expensive range of the scale, because now we've been going up in price, if you have Wilson audio products, they are also like B&W, utterly skewed in the resolution tonality pair. They use those mechanisms that could give you stable tone, and they sacrifice them to generate higher resolution level. So if you are not a musician who listens for tone, if you are not a concert pianist or violinist, but maybe let's say you're a jazz musician who plays saxophone, using Wilson audio speakers, saxophone will be fine for you, drums will be superb for you. But if you are a pianist, you will commit suicide before listening to one of them. Avant-garde loudspeakers, I have not heard them, but I have my buddy with whom we do a lot of our developments together, and he has experience with those, and he reports that they have sacrificed the frequency balance to get higher dynamic detail level. So that's another pair where the balance is skewed, and I don't want to go into it why that happens. But partly it's because that's the only way they were able to come up with a horn loudspeaker at that high efficiency in a size that can be used for commercial sale. So basically the base unit is not a horn, and it cannot keep up with the mid-range and the top end. So that's why you hear that big discrepancy in the frequency range. So because the base level is so much lower than the high frequency level. The other example for that is the Altec voice of the theater speakers, and many high efficiency solutions like that, like classical JBLs, is that they sacrifice frequency extension for mid-range quality, and they also have the absolute max in dynamic resolution, but that comes at a cost that some people interpret as a decrease in imaging, but that's for another video, because it's true that the Altec loudspeakers and those big horns, they give you a totally different imaging that we are used to from basically virtually every other loudspeaker technology. But I have to also admit it that when we listen to concerts, or let's make it a Pink Floyd concert or a jazz concert or a classical music concert, the Altecs give a much more realistic imaging than the modern or smaller compact loudspeakers do. So imaging is not always an easy and very obvious thing. So thank you for tuning in. So this was our examples for loudspeakers, and we will continue in another video with other parts of the chain. Thank you. Please like, subscribe, tell your friends. Bye bye.